Welcome. I'm Walla Blagay, and I'm hosting Chat with the Lawyer, where lawyers give practical advice to everyday people. And today we have a special guest, Mike Lyles, who is the Executive Director for the Prince George's County Human Relations Commission. And today he's going to tell us a little bit about discrimination and what would we do if we are discriminated against in this county. But also, he's going to talk about human trafficking, a very important issue nationally and internationally. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about the Prince George's Human Relations Commission.
Okay, well, Walla, as you know, because you're a commissioner, and we really appreciate your efforts helping us move the county forward with respect to our anti-discrimination efforts. But the commission was started or established in 1974, and in Prince George's County, there's an ordinance that protects people, various protected classes from discrimination. The commission, along with staff that I supervise, investigates, mediates sometimes, and actually prosecutes cases of discrimination, and then we appear before the commission if we take those cases to a hearing.
Okay, all right. And how long have you been in this position?
I've been in the position since 2011. I was appointed by County Executive Sharon Baker.
Okay. So walk us through the steps. What would I do if I'm discriminated against? I'm at a job that I feel that I've been discriminated based on my race, and I need to talk to someone. Should I go to the EEOC first? Where should I go?
Well, first of all, what most people should know is that the Human Relations Commission is free, it's convenient, it's quick, and it's easy. And what we do is enforce the anti-discrimination laws on the books in the county against people who are discriminated against in employment, housing, public accommodations, education, as well as law enforcement abuse or police brutality. And we also try to help people mediate concerns where there may be discrimination on the job or in public housing or in housing. Basically what happens is first folks would call us or they can go to our website, which is civil rights at mypgc.us, and you can get a hold of an investigator who will then ask you to come in for an appointment. Once you come in for an appointment, we take full background facts of what happened on the case, and then we start an investigation. And if need be, we move to a mediation stage where we get the parties around the table and kind of discuss ways to resolve the situation short of going to a formal hearing.
Okay. So what's the difference between going to the EEOC and going to the Prince George's County Human Relations Commission?
Okay, for employment cases that we investigate, there's really no difference because to the extent that we handle cases for employers with 15 employees or more, we are in a relationship with the EEOC where we handle cases on behalf of the EEOC. So if someone were discriminated in that context, they come to our agency and they would be put in what's called a dual file status, meaning that when you file with us, it's like filing with the EEOC. And so there's really no difference. The thing that we appreciate about our county ordinance is the county ordinance enforces anti-discrimination laws against employers who would violate civil rights of folks down to one employee. So we are more expansive than the EEOC or the federal laws. And so we pretty much protect everybody in an employment context, as well as, like I said, public accommodations, housing, et cetera.
Now tell us a little bit about housing. I'm looking for a housing in the county and I feel that maybe I might have been discriminated based on my gender. Like, you know, what should I do? Tell us a little bit more about housing discrimination.
Well, basically, again, our county ordinance is very expansive and it protects the rights of those who are trying to buy a home, trying to rent an apartment, or trying to get services related to that apartment or house. And if someone is feeling that they're being treated unfairly based on their race, their color, their gender, their familial status, their marital status, sexual orientation, and the like, they can come and file a complaint with our agency. And basically what the Anti-Discrimination Code is trying to do is create an environment where everyone can find and pay for the home of their choice. As long as they have the money to afford it, there should be no reason why someone is discriminated against unfairly in purchase or rent of an apartment or home here in Prince George's County. So we try to make sure that there is fair housing for all.
Okay. Well, you know, you said that the Prince George's County Human Relations ordinance covers a variety of protected class. And we know that there are protected classes in the federal sector, that federal laws cover some protected class, but it is understood that there is more expansive coverage in the Prince George's County Ordinance. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, well, some of the protected classes or the characteristics that are protected in Prince George's County that are a little broader than at the federal level or even the state level include things like sexual orientation, they include occupation, personal appearance, political opinion, marital status, and familial status. Some of the ones that most people recognize are national origin, race, disability, color, religion, but we also protect age as well. And we protect age or people from being discriminated against based on their age, whether they're young being discriminated against or whether they're older. And in the federal law, the protection is only for folks over a certain age, over 45 years old. But Prince George's County, we protect young people from being discriminated against just basically or purely because of their youth.
Can you explain the personal appearance discrimination? Do you know, what does that really entail? Can you describe that for us?
Well, yeah, in the 90s, there was a big issue in our area because of African-American women primarily who were being let go from jobs because they had cornrows. They were working at a place one day and they would show up with a new hairstyle, and that hairstyle was not potentially conducive to a particular employer's thought of what a person should be wearing their hair like. And so a lot of African Americans made a lot of news because people were getting fired or people were not getting jobs. And so Prince George's County decided to expand our code to include personal appearance. But since then, it's taken on across the state, because some of these issues have been litigated, a little more expansive treatment, meaning that personal appearance pretty much relates to religious wear, religious garb that someone may have to wear all the time, even at work. It could apply to some kinds of facial hair that because of your religion you have to wear facial hair. And it could also apply to certain hairstyles that are more indicative of maybe particular cultures or particular ethnic groups here in the county. So it has been expanded, but we have seen folks try to bring complaints maybe based on being overweight, and that's not one of the areas that is covered currently under personal appearance in the county. But basically we're talking about religious garb, we're talking about hairstyles, and we're talking about possibly facial hair, where it may have a religious context or a cultural context where people can't divorce themselves from that so easily.
Okay. So if I'm an employer and I want to learn more about the Human Relations Commission and the protected class and the process, do you all do training? Do you provide training and outreach for businesses and employers?
Well, one of our primary reasons for existing is to do outreach. So we'll come to communities, we'll come to community organizations, we'll come to municipal governments, as well as employers, those who are buying and selling homes. We'll go to law enforcement agencies where we have an opportunity to talk about all the different kinds of ways that we enforce the county's laws with respect to anti-discrimination. So we are available. Folks can call us. They can go to our website address and email us directly, or they can call 311. They can also call our number 301-883-6170 to speak to one of our investigators or to speak to me to talk about how we might come out and educate them for free about what we do and how they can better serve the public of Prince George's County by not discriminating.
Okay, and since you're giving contact information, if you're discriminated against, do you call the same numbers? How do you go about it? Can you file a complaint online?
Yes, well, the first thing anyone can do is, if you think you've been discriminated against, is call 311. If you call 311 in the county, or if you have the County Click app, or go online, you can reach us immediately, make a complaint, and that complaint will come to my desk as well as to one of my lead investigators' desk, and we will set the individual up with an appointment. We don't do complaints over the phone, and we don't take complaints by email. We will start the process, but we do require a face-to-face interview so we can get all the facts from the individual that says they've been discriminated or feels they've been discriminated against.
Okay, okay. And also, let's talk a little bit about mediation, arbitration. Now, you said that you all provide mediation services, and
yes.
how, tell us a little bit more about mediation and what that entails?
Sure. Well, the Human Relations Commission as an organization is part of the Office of Community Relations. The Office of Community Relations in the county government system has a broad professional network of folks who help with community mediations. Well, part of that staff in the Office of Community Relations helps us do our mediations in the Human Relations Commission. And basically they're full-time, they're government employees, and what happens is prior to the investigation getting full steam, we ask both parties in a particular case if they would like to voluntarily sit down and try to negotiate a resolution short of a full investigation and short of a full prosecution of the case. That probably happens about 50% of the time where folks agree, because mediation is voluntary. But it's also free, and it also presents an opportunity for folks to maybe find a way out of the situation that makes everybody happy and will reduce costs for everyone.
Okay, okay. Now, are you working on any legislative agenda for 2014 or 2015?
Well, this year, yes, this year, thanks for asking, we put several bills together for passage at the county level, and one of them had to do with increasing the damages or fines. Right now, if someone brings a case and they win the case, the commission could award up to $100,000 in damages for a violation of a person's civil rights, and they could also penalize the violator up to $5,000 in fines. And what this most recent bill would do is increase the damages amount up to $200,000 and increase the fines up to $10,000. And the reason we put that bill in was because the last time that amount was changed was back in the early 90s. So we've been almost 20 years with no increase in the damages amount or the fine amount. And when we researched this across the state, we found that Prince George's County was one of the lowest. So we have an expansive code. We seem to be trying to protect people more, but I don't think that the money that is damages or fines penalizes people enough for violations and helps those who've been violated, because if they've lost their job or they don't have an opportunity to buy or rent the home that they want, you know, they should be remunerated or paid or rewarded if their civil rights have been violated.
Okay, okay. Well, then tell us a little bit about caseloads quickly. Like what, has the caseload dropped over time?
Well, basically, when I came in 2011, the Human Relations Commission was in pretty bad shape. Okay. We had a backlog of about 120, 150 some odd cases, and those cases were, you know, on average about 5 years old, okay, meaning that somewhere in the process, the bureaucracy stopped people from getting justice. And since that time, since 2011, we reduced the average age of a case from anywhere around 3.5 to 4 years to just under 180 days, to 220 to 180 days. Right now, 180 days is our standard. And so we're pushing that, and the caseloads for the investigators have dropped because we got rid of the backlog, and we've actually taken the additional funding from the county executive, and as well as additional authority from the county executive to actually make us a better, well-run agency. And we're one of the best in the country, we think.
Wow. All right. Well, we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about human trafficking. So stay with us.
When I grow up, I want to be a psychologist or a therapist.
I want to be a pediatrician.
I was hoping to become a chef someday.
I want to own a big house with the convertible and the jacuzzi and the pool, you know, all the good stuff.
Role models, they don't tell you what to do, but they help you to go where you're going.
I want to study law. I don't want to become a lawyer. I want to become a CIA agent.
Young people, I think, do need a mentor because, you know, we don't know everything, and, you know, all the people, they've experienced stuff that we haven't.
I would like to be a baseball player.
As long as there's somebody behind you, pushing you and supporting you, then you feel that you always have the strength to keep going.
Well, I would like to become like a doctor. That's my first choice.
Sometimes you feel down and you feel that no one really understands and no one knows like where you're coming from, and it's great to see someone who's been where you are now and, you know, making it.
So get involved and do your part. Invest in the future. Mentor a child.
simple moments are what make every day count.
Help Ricky Rubio save a life at heartrescuenow.com.
Welcome back to Chat with the Lawyer, and we are here with our special guest, Mr. Mike Lyles from the Prince George's County Human Relations Commission, and we're going to talk about an important issue, human trafficking. Now, we know that Prince George's County Human Relations Commission has taken on human trafficking and has become a model for many other counties and in the state. So tell us a little bit more, how did this all begin?
Well, thanks to folks like yourself and others in the community, we held a conference here in this very building last year in March, where we brought together some of the greatest minds across the county to talk about this issue: police, local prosecutors, state and federal officials. And basically what they all said was the state of Maryland, as well as Prince George's County, were one of the leading areas attractive to people engaging in human trafficking. And so from that, our commission, you and your colleagues, as well as others in the county council and the county government, decided that we would take this issue head on. So in July, the county council passed a resolution establishing a human trafficking task force. And basically, we're an operational task force. We do more than just study the issue. We've taken to actually trying to do something to combat human trafficking. And over the last 10, 11 months or so, we have established committees, and we've taken on one goal per committee, and we've actually done a lot of things like training folks, going out in the community, conducting public awareness workshops, reaching out beyond the commission to actually get things coordinated amongst county agencies. It's a big issue, and it's one that Prince George's County has the benefit of being on the leading edge of combating. And we are pretty well known on the East Coast for the work we're doing here in Prince George's County, because we're a very organized task force, and we've done it without any money, even though we need funding. We've done it without a lot of resources, but all of the agencies, community organizations, and even individuals have stepped up to help us on the task force.
So what organizations are you working with?
Well, we're working with not only all the county agencies, police, fire, sheriff, the prosecutor's office, but we're also working with Homeland Security. We're working with the FBI, the U.S. Attorney for the state of Maryland. We're working with the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention. Every agency on the executive side here in the county, as well as county council. Our vice chair is Councilmember Karen Tolles. And so we are pretty much pushing this issue not only at the county level, but also at the state level, and doing all we can to combat human trafficking, which most people don't know does not really require transporting anybody. It's just the commercialization for the purpose of sex or labor people. And right now we have a huge issue with domestic minor sex trafficking here in Maryland, the United States, and Prince George's County. And we're one of the areas that's afflicted most with this particular type of crime, and we want to get a handle on it.
Now tell us about human trafficking in this county, because many of us think of human trafficking as something international, moving young women from Russia to the United States or many other countries, but we don't think of it in our backyard. What's going on?
Well, human trafficking does require someone to want or desire and pay for sex or for labor. And the people who are involved in the sex trade or the labor trade are actually not getting paid. So it is slavery. It does affect somewhere between 100 to 200,000 children in the United States alone. The United States is one of the largest purveyors of human trafficking. We're one of the largest countries that actually requires and asks for slavery of this type to exist. So it is an international phenomenon, but it's also a national problem that starts a lot of times right here in the United States. In Prince George's County and in Maryland, it mostly affects children. The average age of someone who might be recruited into human trafficking in the state of Maryland and in Prince George's County is 13 years old. What that looks like in Prince George's County is pretty simple. The average age of a person that's actually engaged in human trafficking for sex in Prince George's County, it will be 19. The person will be African American. They will be from Prince George's County or from the state of Maryland. And they will have probably been raped, sexually assaulted as a child at 13 and run away from home or kicked out of their home or had some other tragic situation that led them to fall into the hands of these traffickers who then sell them for sex, as well as free labor, which occurs as well. But we also have our share of folks who are not born in this country who are then trapped in the situation here in Prince George's County, and that's a huge problem too.
Interesting. Well, if I'm a parent and I have a 13-year-old, what should I be looking out for? What should parents in the county be aware of when it comes to trafficking?
Well, the first thing that we need to know is that if a person is going to be recruited, they're likely going to be recruited if they have loose family ties. And so it's going to be important that families look at their children and find out what's going on with them in their lives and try to get help where they need help. Secondly, parents need to be aware of what their children are doing on the internet. We found in our task force that one of the greatest ways for children, girls especially who are children, to be lured into the human trafficking trade, sex trafficking primarily, is Facebook, Twitter, meeting older men in the malls. There are several different types of web engines or websites that actually attract young people. But many times the young people don't know who they're talking to on the other side. And so they've been lured, defrauded, coerced, and sometimes forced into human trafficking. And it can be an issue. And parents need to know what their children are doing all the time.
Okay. Is the school system involved with the trafficking?
Well, the school system is one of our greatest partners. We partnered with them starting in January of this year, and Dr. Maxwell allowed us to come in, give a presentation to his senior staff, and he's all foursquare helping us to do the kinds of things we need to do in all the schools. We are trying to institute a program to teach students at middle school and high school level about human trafficking and how they can protect themselves. And we hope with sufficient funding, we'll be able to do that in every middle and every high school this fiscal year.
Now you talk about this fiscal year. Now it looks like you've had some requests before the county council, maybe state. So tell us a little bit, what is the task force focused on for this upcoming year?
Well, the task force is focused on getting money to serve victims, survivors, those who want to get out of the sex trade or get free from labor trafficking. We want to provide a location where they can come, get counseling, get help, medical services, job training, and other kinds of help that they might need from a crisis intervention standpoint. We probably don't have enough money for someone to come and stay for a very long period of time, but we are focused on helping victims because we feel that if we help victims, we can help people from going back into the situation. And because that's really what human trafficking is about. It's unlike drugs where you use a drug and the drug is gone, humans can be used over and over and over again. And a lot of times there is a mental and emotional attachment even to the traffickers. So what we'd like to do with a crisis intervention model is to kind of break that chain from the victim to their trafficker. And hopefully a crisis intervention center is what we can get with any kind of funding that we might receive from the state or the county.
Do you already have some centers that you're using in the county right now that's been servicing victims?
Well, the county has no service centers for victims of human trafficking right now. The closest ones are either in the District of Columbia or in Baltimore. And so there are very few of these kinds of centers or safe havens, if you will, in the state of Maryland, and none exist in Prince George's County, where, from the standpoint of the Prince George's County Human Trafficking Task Force, we'd like to see people serviced and helped here, because the majority of people that are helped are going to be county residents.
Okay. Now, what is the fiscal number? Do you mind telling us what?
Well, we've asked the county council to provide funding up to $1.5 million. We think $1.5 million will help us do a couple of things. One, it would help us open a crisis center, but it would also help us do some of the operational things that the task force is now doing without a budget in various agencies. We can kind of centralize training, we could centralize public awareness, and we could also get help to victims and provide a mechanism for volunteers and others to provide resources into the center. Right now, there's no mechanism for all of that to occur. And we think over time, we can reduce the funding, but we need to start at a point where we can at least get everything set up. We don't have a location. We need a location. We need a building. And we need to have that staffed. We think that a contract with a local provider would be the best way to go. But we would be happy for any amount of funding we could get from any of the sources, as well as we're asking for the federal government to help us with a grant application that we'll be putting in very soon.
So you talked about training. Tell us a little bit more about that. What does the training entail? What training have you provided? Well,
over the last 10 or 11 months, we've been training police officers, we've been training healthcare workers, nurses, we've been training hotel managers, for instance, and we've also been training social workers and others in the community. Up to date, we've probably provided about 7 different training courses, from anywhere from 1 hour to 4 hours. And the most recent training we had was Bonnie Martin from Alexandria, Virginia, who came and talked about brain trauma and how folks who work with victims can understand what their brain goes through as they seek to help counsel victims. In December, we had a training where we brought in about 40 police officers from around the state and the county, from various agencies, to discuss what they can do when they come upon people who are victims of human trafficking, either sex or labor trafficking. And these trainings last, an hour, like I said, to 4 hours, and we've been very successful in getting folks to come to our trainings. In 3 weeks ago at Bowie State University, we brought in an individual, Dina Graves from Traffic 911 from Houston. She gave a 3-hour training, and we were able to train almost 200 people, social workers, Bowie State faculty, as well as students, on the human trafficking situation, kind of human trafficking 101. And those folks left with a renewed sense that we need to do something about human trafficking. We've been very successful in our trainings. We just need to do more.
Okay, and what more, as in what are you looking to provide more?
Well, we'd like to provide training to students in middle and high school, as we talked about, but that's going to take money to reach out to every school, and we'd like to have a budget to be able to do that. And because we think that is another way to stem the tide of trafficking here in Prince George's County, by making sure that middle school and high school students are armed with the knowledge of folks who might want to try to lure them away from their families and away from their communities to engage in human and sex trafficking. So that's another big ticket item. We work with several partners here in Prince George's County, the Fair Girls organization, that in the months of January, February, March, trained almost 400 students at Laurel High School and Northwestern High School. And the training went very well. We'd like to replicate that through every school. And we'd like to train every teacher, every guidance counselor, and every healthcare worker in the school system as well.
Okay. Well, we should know, what should someone do if they are in discrimination, they're being trafficked? Who should they contact? Give us the contact information so we'll be aware of it.
Sure. The first thing that anyone can do if they think they've seen human trafficking or they're a victim of human trafficking is call 311. Our call takers will get the information to me, and we'll get the right services for the folks that need our help. Additionally, if you think you've been discriminated against, you can call 311, or you can do the County Click app on your mobile phone, mobile device, as well as you can call 301-883-6170 and speak to an investigator.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on our show. This was special and very informative. If you have any other questions, contact chatwiththelawyer@gmail.com. And thank you for joining us.